Welcome to another episode of Life and Whiskey. As always, I'm Jordan, and today we're going to look at Bruichladdich, the classic Laddie. It's kind of interesting. I've never done this one. Picked it up locally for... let's see here. We got to find it on the list. Bruichladdich. At this point, the only one we had done was the Port Charlotte. Picked it up locally for $54.79. This is available on every shelf, even here locally. You should be able to find this one quite easily. So it's an Islay distillery. It's an unpeated Islay, and that is kind of an interesting pathway for my wife and I to go down, because we don't normally do the unpeated things. There's a lot of different stuff on here to read if you wish, but it's unpeated Islay single malt Scotch, 50% ABV or 100 proof. So Bruichladdich also makes the Octomore, which we'll get into next, and Port Charlotte 10-year, which it's kind of interesting. Everybody raves about the Port Charlotte. Now, the bottle that I just finished it in the last, 2 months maybe. Probably in October I finished it, maybe even beginning in November. But I was not as impressed with it as everybody else is. Now, this might be another Weller one, Antique 107 deal where, the bottle I got from whatever that release in year was is not as good as the stuff that's coming out now. That's highly possible, if not probable. But what did I pay for the first Port Charlotte? I paid $63, so not unbelievable. It's not very expensive. It was a little bit difficult to find. I think I got that in Montana or South Dakota or somewhere else. I did not get that in Wyoming. Well, now that I say that, maybe I did get in Wyoming. Let me take a look. Because I might have got it, like in Casper or somewhere. No, not even. I got it in Wisconsin. At the Total Wine in Wisconsin is where I found that one. Anyways, tried it. It's good. It's a peated Islay, enjoyable, but not this amazing thing that people were raving about. So keep that in mind. However, here we go with the classic Laddie, which is not a man. I just cut my fingernails, so it wasn't anything. Sorry, that's probably really loud in the mic. I didn't have anything to get underneath there with my finger, but it comes in this baby blue, sky blue bottle, very easy to recognize. Sorry, I'm listening to my dog chewing upstairs. See what she has to say. Now, man, take a look at that. That is a very light color profile. It looks like a Chardonnay or a white wine of some sort. But on the nose, it is just a little bit malty. It's not really jumping out, and nothing's jumping out of the glass on this. We're going to warm it up just a second here. Maybe back it off a little bit. Getting some malt, caramel, a little bit of butterscotch. There's a sweetness about the nose that is candy caramel. There's a very sugar-forward sweetness. And then in the glass, you get malt. I almost get earthy, peaty swampiness. Not smoke. No smoke whatsoever, but that peaty, swampy note where you kind of get that little bit of sour in the back end. Again, I use this descriptor all the time. If you've ever been in a swamp, what that swamp smells like, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's a little bit of that in the background, mixed mostly with that maltiness. But that, I think, to me, some people say there's that sour note in there, and there's different types of sour notes, but often with the malt, some people call it a malt funkiness. I think that sourness is kind of that peaty, swampy note in my memory bank. But that is not the dominating smell at all. Mostly butterscotch sweetness, a little bit of malt, not the sour bit. Oh, there's some apple in there. Ooh, coming out of doing mostly the right nostril off of this side here. Getting that ethanol in there a little bit. Fruit, not dark fruit, like apricot and apple mixed together. Very nice. A little bit of floral in there. A lot of good things coming out of this glass. Let's go in for a sip. Okay, very different than what I was expecting. Has kind of a hefty, viscous mouthfeel to start with. A little bit oily, clingy, washes over your tongue, and then dries out maybe 2 beats into the flavor profile, so like mid flavor profile. It's very sweet and light and fruity up front on the first sip for me. Moving into a honey, kind of a honey oat in that mid palate before it finishes with some of the proof and a little bit of oak. And I said honey oat and oak on the finish. Very well balanced. There was no spikes. It was just a nice, even roll from flavor to flavor. Everything stayed in that more viscous mouthfeel. For 100 proof, it drinks very nice and easy. The proof is coming on the back end, not as a burn, but as a dryness on your tongue. Like I don't feel like this is 100 proof. Nose hasn't really changed. It's all very much the same nose profile. I'm gonna get back into this right away just because there was a lot of notes in there that I didn't cover, I feel like. So let's just take another sip, see where it goes. There's a maltiness for it, a little bit of a sour note up front. Um, that's definitely that malt playing in there before it moves into a honey sweetness, some grainy oat, granola kind of flavors in the middle. A little bit of a fruit in there, a little bit of apple, light, bright, crisp flavors of fruit. Then that proof kind of comes in, not in a biting way, but it carries through the finish with a drying, like a dry wine does, on your tongue. And then that allows for I guess I would call it a more bitter or tannic experience with the oak, but not an overwhelming one and not an unpleasant one. Again, if you know my flavor profiles, you know I'm not a huge oak bitterness kind of fan. Like that's not a flavor I look for. This is a nice subtle dry oak stave flavor presentation, well balanced with the rest of the profile. It is the flavor that lingers along with that ethanol on the tongue, but in a well balanced and very appropriate manner. So start to finish, I would say the whole flavor profile is very, very well balanced. Um, so yeah, I'm liking it a lot. For there not being any smoke component to it, like I said, kind of that combination of now it's what I get with the Deanston 12 had the same thing. The Monkey Shoulder, I can't think of any of the other space sides right now, but they kind of had that malty sour funkiness that I'm describing as that swampy smell, swampy peatiness. They all kind of have that same vein in them, which I personally, as if you watch the channel, know I have an affection for because I spent probably 15 years deer hunting in a swamp back in Wisconsin. So a lot of memories tied to that smell. So it triggers a lot of things for me. But very nice. Last sip was all sweet forward, very butterscotch. Little bit of almost coming off like an olive brine, kind of in that mid palate mixed with like an apple and a fruitiness. So there's kind of like a salty brininess, vinegary sour to it, in a pleasant way, not in a complimentary way. And then it pushes into that oak. Yeah, there's still that granola note in there. Very, very nice, well-balanced, easy-to-sip whiskey that I think you would really, really enjoy if you are not into bolder, strong flavors. Um, this is more in the vein of what I would think a Highland Scotch would run, minus the light fruitiness. So it has more of that subtle characteristic in presentation, I guess I would say. Very, very nice. Well done. 100 proof whiskey, so you can't balk about that. And running, what did I say, $54.79. Worth every penny. So go ahead, drop in the comments down below what you can find a bottle of Bruichladdich for Classic Laddie in your area, as well as any experience you have with it, whether you like it or not. Again, sticking with the fact that my wife and I are big Isla fans, had to give the non-peated whiskey a try, similar to the Bunnahabhains. Like we have the Bunnahabhain 12, and then the Bunnahabhain, what is this? Ugh, I can't even pronounce that. Gaelic is not, or is it Gaelic or Celtic? Either way, not my native tongue, but Sturdair, something like that, for the Bunnahabhain. Also an unpeated one. However, their peated one, like the Toitichada, something like that. Again, tongue twister for me, but as far as a peated Bunnahabhain, outstanding. So, in that same vein of unpeated, this unpeated whiskey is tremendous. I highly recommend it. Go out, check out a bottle if you can find one for a reasonable price in your area. Like I said, should be widely distributed and fairly easy to get your hands on, especially if it's something that I can get here locally at any liquor store. But aside from that, I don't think I got anything else to comment on it. It's very delicious. And thanks for watching. You guys, I appreciate everybody who's subscribing and commenting on videos. I try and get back to you in a meaningful time frame. Um, yeah, continue to do that, and we'll keep having our conversation. As always, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next video. We're going to finally dive into the Octomore before I blow out my palate. We go back trying the bourbons here. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Have yourselves a great day. We'll catch you in the next video.